that can shoot the ball. But it's still okay to want to win the game with your big men inside. And with the way that this Carolina team is built this year, and could be built down the line, because you got to think some of the other big men that are in these upcoming classes are watching this and saying, look at the way they're able to use their bigs and have so much success. You would think that's the way that Carolina is going to be able to have success going forward.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of great points in your response there. I think one of the things I really agreed with is that even Carolina's got young guys coming off the bench to play inside. It is easier for those guys to get position and get the ball in the basket more frequently than it has been for Caleb Love and R.J. Davis. I think another thing is that and we mentioned this in the offseason, but now you're really seeing it happen on the court. This is why Jeremiah Francis transferring was a problem, because he at least would have been an experienced point guard that could help the young guys along. Cole Anthony leaving, that guy not being there. The fact that KJ Smith just doesn't really warrant the fact given playtime, because he's a senior, he would know how to do things and settle the team down. Carolina needs Anthony Harris to come back from injury. They need someone else that can, first off, just handle the ball. Because I think that's the biggest problem, is that outside of those two guys, you're not really comfortable with Andrew Platek or Leaky Black, controlling the ball, running your offense. So you need Anthony Harris back really for that. And then because he adds something else on the perimeter to get you some form of scoring. But also, and I'm about to really get into a very long rant about Leaky Black, because we're sitting here tonight, and since he came to campus, I've been the biggest supporter of this. If this guy puts it all together, the sky's the limit for him as an individual player, and for what this team can do, because he can impact the game in so many ways. I just don't think he's going to be that guy. He played 29 minutes, scored 6 points, grabbed 3 rebounds, and handed out 4 assists. He was 2 of 5 from the field. And the second he got the ball in the perimeter, stayed immediately backed up well behind the three-point line because they don't respect his jump shot. That's a problem. He needs to be better, and needs to be better sooner than later. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe he's not healthy. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's just not all that good. But something's got to give, because I'm at the point now where I would rather Carolina play with 3 freshman guards and put Donovan Puff Johnson, a guy who cannot guard his lunch, in the starting lineup over watching Leaky Black run around and do nothing for 30 minutes. We need impact players on the court. He's not one of them. And if Carolina's going to embrace the youth movement, you might as well do it now. And that way you have 2 veterans on the bench. But something's got to give. Because I'm tired of hearing about all the potential he has, and this is the stats I got to go and look at. And when I can look at from my own basketball eyes and tell you, he's not that good of a basketball player. He's holding this team back in so many different ways. His defensive effort has gotten worse since his freshman year on campus. There was a possession last night. He literally just left a guy and let him go in for a lay-in. And there was another time him trying to play team defense, he got beat, give up a layup. So something's got to give. A lot of it is just the fact that I'm very angry. I know it's 2 days before Christmas. I don't give a damn. Bah humbug. Carolina's got to play better basketball. They need their veteran players to play better, and it starts with him. And I mean, I don't know. Can you calm me down? Can you do anything? Because I'm still sitting here 24 hours later, mad at the world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to be quite as harsh as you are on Leaky, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it is, it's not out of the ordinary, or it's not over the top to say that this guy has got to step up to this team. I mean, they need something on the perimeter. And yeah, I mean, that's at this point. So I've been noticing that a lot the last couple of games as well, and it's definitely something that is frustrating, and it's a confusing situation as to what you're going to do, because, yeah, as you mentioned, they don't trust him at all to shoot the outside shot. And you feel like at this point that you need somebody that can make shots on the perimeter. I think, we saw late last year he was kind of able to get himself going, but it's just not consistent, and you're going to need a guy that's going to be consistent there. I think this year you're kind of stuck. you're probably going to have to run with him. But I think the thing that, going forward, what the goal for Carolina should be is to fuck the wing that can start, that can play significant minutes there, and have Leaky Black be a guy that can come off the bench, give you some energy. And I think he'd serve a little bit better in that role than he does in this role, because I think that, as a starter, there's just maybe a little bit too much pressure on him. He knows that he's not really a great shooter. But, again, that was something that coming in we knew about him. At the high school level, he was not a guy that, even when we talk about it, the comparisons to him, everybody wanted to bring up Theo Pinson. Theo Pinson was a tremendous shooter at the high school level. It just didn't translate over to the college level. That wasn't really the case for Leaky Black. Leaky was an extremely athletic guy that Carolina really liked because of his length and liked because he was a two-way player and, really put in the effort on the defensive end. I think that's really where he's got to focus himself going forward this year. I understand that this team needs some help on the perimeter shooting, but I don't know. I just don't feel like that's really his game at this time. And I don't know if it's ever really going to be his game as a shooter. I just don't think that's what he is. But you can still be a big part of this team defensively. And, I told you before the season started, and, I think that we kind of put it on the back burner a little bit. But you mentioned it really in the previous game that Carolina played against Kentucky. This team is going to have to win games defensively.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. They just don't have enough offensive firepower, even with the guys inside. There's still times where they'll go cold inside. They'll make some mistakes because they're freshmen. You have a lot of turnovers that don't allow you to score as many points as you like. This team has got to be good defensively. And for them to be good defensively, you're going to need a guy like Leaky Black to step up and help you, on the defensive end. He's going to have to be one of your defensive leaders. So that's where I think he needs to focus a lot of his energy. Something that was brought up that I saw on social media that I thought was interesting, and I'll bring it up here because I think this would probably be the guy that you would think if you're going to make a case to start someone over Leaky Black. It'd probably be Andrew Clayton.
Yeah.
But I saw, people wanting Clayton, a lot of people wanting Walker Kessler also in the starting lineup. People really asking, why are these guys not in the starting lineup? The main reason why these guys are not in the starting lineup is because, you look at the fact that this team just continually starts slow over and over and over again. You need these types of boosts off the bench. That's what Andrew Clayton is. That's what Walker Kessler is. They're effort guys that when they come in the game, if you're off to a slow start, if you played a little bit of lackadaisical, if it's a little bit of a sleepy environment because there are no fans there, they can sort of get your team jump-started. You need them to stay in that role unless you can find a way to start putting together consistently good starts out of the gate. And I don't think that's going to happen for this team from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, see, I'm of the belief that first off, I think there will be a lineup change once Anthony Harris returns from injury, whenever that's going to be. I don't understand how you would start Walker Kessler, because then that means you have Garrison Brooks on the perimeter. That's not going to work out well. Andrew Platek, I think he's got the ideal role, as we've mentioned, where he comes off the bench, he plays with it, plays hard, and he's hitting enough outside shots to warrant him being on the floor enough and him shooting the basketball. Excuse me. I wish we had enough confidence in KJ Smith to run the offense and let Caleb Love and RJ Davis play without the basketball a little bit, but that's just evident that's not going to happen. Because if that was going to happen, I think we would have already seen that. Maybe we'll see something coming out after Christmas, as they have roughly an 8-day layoff. But something's just got to give on the perimeter. I think Carolina has potential to be a really great shooting team. It's just not going to be this year. I think, next year or 2 years from now, a lot of these guys will probably still be on the roster. And maybe then they'll be able to put the ball in the basket at a more consistent rate. But I think we just got so spoiled with how good that team was in 2008, 2019 with Kobe White, Cam Johnson, Kenny Williams that could just fill it up from three. That's not Carolina basketball, especially under Roy Williams. But we fell so in love with it because that's the way the game's being played now. That's the modern game. Well, Carolina's won 3 championships by playing with 2 big men. No other schools won that many since Roy Williams came back to Carolina, so I don't get how you argue with his philosophy, with his method, with how he wants to play the game, because it's proven in March it's going to work, and that's what really matters. It's December 23rd, and we're mad, but we're playing for March and April. That's what Carolina basketball's, that's what it's about. So I don't know. I just think, you had such a good chance to build a lot of momentum after that win over Kentucky, and you just kind of lose that. Now you've got a whole week off where you can get to go play again to get this bad taste out of your mouth. And so, we'll see where they go from there. Anything else from the loss to State last night before we get out of here with a little bit of news and get out of here?
Not really anything else from the loss to State. I not anything that comes off the top of my head. I think we pretty much kind of cycled through everything. There's just and again, this is part of having young teams. We've seen it over the last couple of years. We've said it multiple times that this doesn't seem to be Roy Williams' strength. He seems to be a guy that likes veteran teams. But I think the other thing was that, we looked at the talent that they brought in this year, and we thought they're going to be able to, there are more talented freshman group that's coming in this year. And I think that's still true. I think that, the other thing is that we probably overlooked a little bit how big of a role the pandemic was going to play. It wasn't as evident as football. Football, we knew that they missed out on spring practice. They missed out on the weight room in the summer. We could see that was big. They missed a big portion of the preseason, off-season stuff that they do. Basketball, we knew the team was on the court, but again, they couldn't go as extensively as they had in the past. There were limits when it came to the weight room, stuff like that. So this wasn't a normal off-season for them. So, you're seeing it with a lot of these young teams around the country this year, is they're really struggling out of the gate. So, again, the good news is that a couple of the teams at the top of the ACC, like we talked about with Duke, they're younger teams at the top of the ACC, so they're going through growing pains as well. But it's frustrating because now it feels like, believe it or not, this game against Georgia Tech that Carolina plays when they come back from Christmas, I think this is going to tell you a lot about the season. If they lose that game, then I think you know what type of season you're in for. It's going to be a team that's going to be scratching and clawing to try to make the NCAA tournament. It's not going to be a team that's going to come in and finish anywhere near the top half or the top three in the ACC, which is where we thought they would in the preseason. If they come out and win that game, well, you never really know. There's still a lot of time for this team to grow. You still feel pretty positive that this is a team that can make, a couple of moves as the season goes along up the ACC standings and, potentially get in the hunt for the ACC championship if enough things were to go right. But I think, that's going to be an important game for Carolina when they come back.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. It'll be their second ACC game of the season. It'll be another road game. That'll be next Wednesday. I think it's just 7 o'clock tip on the ACC network, Carolina at Georgia Tech. A little bit of news about Carolina's ACC schedule. We knew playing basketball in the COVID-19 pandemic was going to be a challenge, and it didn't take long for Carolina to have a schedule altercation in ACC play as their January 2nd home opener or home ACC opener against Syracuse has been postponed due to issues with Syracuse playing an opponent that had tested positive for COVID. So with quarantine and contract tracing, Syracuse is going to be forced to stay out a while. And, of course, that has that game moved. As of right now, there's no word on if another game's going to get moved to that date or if Carolina's just going to have another extended break coming after when they get back and they play Georgia Tech. So that little bit of news coming out today about Carolina basketball's ACC schedule, and also the NBA has gotten tipped off. We're going to spend some more time this year on the podcast telling you about what the Tar Heels of the NBA are doing. Of course, there's a lot of expectations around Kobe White this year as he's entering his third year with the Bulls, or no, his second year. No. Yeah, second year with the Bulls.
Second year with
the Bulls. Cole Anthony hit a game winner the other night in the preseason for the Orlando Magic. So there's a lot of great talent for Carolina in the NBA. And we're going to keep you more up to date on what those guys are doing in the association. So with that, we're going to go ahead and shut this podcast down before we let you go. Talked about the website, Heel Tough Blog. It was a busy day for us as Carolina had some news coming out on both the football and the basketball fronts. Me and Anthony had you covered, and we've kept you covered all year long. Football season, of course, Orange Bowl's next week, so next week we'll be getting you ready for the matchup with A&M. Basketball side of things, all three of us are now gotten a part, as Anthony wrote the recap for last night's game against State as I was traveling back from family with Christmas.